As of the time I'm recording this video, there are literally only 2 weeks left before the next SAT. For most of you, you're going to absolutely waste these next 2 weeks, score badly on the test, and then question your life choices. But if you follow the exact strategy I'm going to outline in this video, you actually have the chance to do pretty well when you end up taking the test. I know this because I've shown these techniques to literally hundreds of SAT students, and I've seen some of them get absolutely massive score increases even in just the span of 2 weeks. Score increases that they never would have even thought possible otherwise. And so if you want that to be you, lock in, and I'm about to show you exactly how you can make the most out of these last 2 weeks. Most students, when they only have 2 weeks to study for the SAT, go through a strategy kind of like this. They just do a bunch of random practice questions. So they might do a couple passage-based questions here, they might do a couple of grammar questions here, a couple of Desmos questions here, but they don't really have any strategy like piecing all these together, just a bunch of random work. And as a result, when they get to the SAT, they're not really good at any area. They're just kind of mediocre at a bunch of different things. And when they take the test, they think, okay, I guess I just didn't study enough or something. But the truth is, the problem was not the amount of time you had, it was how you're using this time. Let me show you. So in a perfect world, we would love it if for every single area of the SAT, we could have a very high amount of skill in just 2 weeks. So imagine each of these is a different area of the SAT, like say this is Desmos, this is grammar, this is passage questions, this is geometry, this is advanced math. We would love if each of the skill bars for this could be pretty high. Maybe not perfect, maybe not all the way there, but at least like pretty high. But the one issue preventing this from happening is time. But it's not just that you don't have enough time to get any of these skill bars up here, it's that you don't have enough time to sift through all this different information available to you. You see, if you just search up SAT on YouTube, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of different YouTube channels giving you different strategies for every single problem type on the SAT. And it's going to take too much time to go through all of that, find the exact strategy for each of these different problem types, and then convince yourself that's the best one and just to start using it again and again. You just don't have enough time to sift through all that different information. Maybe if you had like 4 weeks to study for the SAT or a whole 3 months, but not in only 2 weeks. Now I'm going to show you at the end of this video how you can get a result like this, but really just for the vast majority of students, it's not going to be feasible for you. What's more realistic is to have a skill chart like this. For maybe 2 areas, you can be really, really good at it. I'm talking actually perfect. And that may be kind of surprising for you. You may think that that's kind of like unrealistic to be perfect in 2 areas of the SAT in only 2 weeks, but for sure is possible. And then the other 3 areas, you can just have like, okay, like actually pretty bad to be honest. I mean, these are all pretty low. And the thought process behind this is really thinking to yourself, I'm just gonna focus on these 2 areas of the SAT and then not really think at all about any of the other stuff. And you see, this is really uncomfortable for the vast majority of students because most students will look at this and they'll think, but no, I need to study all this. I need to make sure I'm really good at all of it. What if I see a question like one of these on the SAT? But the thing is like, if you don't do this, you're just gonna be like one of these students who is doing a bunch of random things. And then you're not going to end up doing well at any of them on the SAT. And you're just going to suck at everything. And the other thing is that you probably already have some decent knowledge on a lot of these different question types on the SAT. Like, you've probably taken geometry, you've probably taken algebra, you've probably taken some English classes before. So it's not like any of these is going to be absolutely terrible. Like, I probably made these a little bit too low. Like, they might be more like this. Like, you're probably not going to completely suck at any single area. It's just like you're not going to be the best at it. But what you can do is get really, really good at 2 areas of the test and just spend all your time essentially into those. Try to get the exact strategy for these. It's okay if it like takes a couple of days to figure out the strategy because you can just go ahead and do it and maximize your progress. And then when you see these questions on the SAT, you can almost guarantee that you're going to get every single one of them correct. It's this kind of strategy of focused practice that can really allow you to do some really big stuff in only 2 weeks' time. But the question you're probably asking yourself now is, how do I decide which ones of these 5 to focus on? And there are a lot more than 5 areas of the SAT, don't get me wrong. So like, it's gonna be more like maybe 10 or 15. How do you decide which one of these is the most important? Well, I have it all broken down into this pyramid here. You see, I've arranged all the different areas of the SAT from easiest and fastest to learn to hardest and slowest to learn. If you're learning stuff like grammar and transitions, you can learn that in just like the span of a day. But stuff like vocab, it's going to take a really, really long time to get perfect at vocab. And I really advise just like not thinking about it at all if you're about to take the SAT, just because like you don't have enough time to really learn it. So what you can do is maybe you can just focus on these 2 bottom layers of the pyramid. So you can focus on grammar, transitions, and student notes, which all are pretty similar to each other. So even though there's 3 different things there, they're all really in the same kind of category overall. And then you can also focus on stuff like Desmos and basic math, which again are kind of in the same category. They're different things, but they both really feed into each other. And the way you can do this is I actually have videos on both of these different topics. So for grammar, transitions, student notes, these 2 videos I have on the channel really help a lot with those. Desmos and basic math, this video will help a lot with that. So you can just go ahead and go through these videos and then go through the exact process I'm about to show you in a second. But here's the thing, like this really frees up a lot of time for you because now you don't even have to worry about this harder stuff up here. You don't have to worry about vocab or hard level math or reading passage problems. I have some videos up here if you do want to learn them, like if you're already really good at these two bottom areas and you really want to just get into these top areas, but you don't have to worry about that at all if you follow the strategy in this video. But the important thing to remember is you're not spending less time studying, you're still spending the same amount of time you would have studied otherwise. It's just that you're focusing your energy into these two bottom areas rather than just doing all of them. So if you're planning to study 10 hours, you still should study 10 hours. It's just you're going to spend the 10 hours just on these areas. Not like 3 on here, 3 on here, and then 3 on here. It's just like you're focusing the energy. But now the question you probably have is how do you actually get this kind of mastery at these two bottom areas? Because it's really easy just to say that you should learn grammar or learn Desmos, but it's a lot harder to actually go ahead and do it. So here's what I'd recommend. After you go ahead and watch these videos or whatever other videos you plan to watch, but I'd recommend these because I made them and I know that they have really good information. What you should do is go ahead and start doing practice questions. I know that's pretty basic. I know that's something you're probably already doing, but what you should do is do practice questions specifically on these two areas. So for Desmos and basic math, that'd be stuff like algebra. It would be stuff like advanced math, but not really anything else besides that. And for grammar and transitions to notes, there's really just like one area of the test. If you see a list of practice questions, you'll know that it's in these areas. And then once you do these questions, you're going to want to go through this exact process and method list. Well, let me show you first of all what most students do. They may go through like 50 practice questions, and then they might realize they got like 20 wrong, for example. And so they may think to themselves like, okay, I really sucked, I really failed, I got 20 questions wrong. And then they might look at each of these questions they got wrong and just think, okay, I guess I messed up that there, then go to the next question, okay, I guess I messed up that there, then third, fourth, fifth, and they just kind of glance over whatever mistakes they made. Now, this is just absolutely terrible because the issue with this strategy is that when you just glance over your mistakes, you don't really internalize why you made the mistake. You don't learn from it. You don't give yourself anything to make sure it doesn't happen again. And as a result, there is a very, very high likelihood that you're going to make the same exact mistake again and again. And you might make the same mistake like 3 to 5 times before you actually end up fixing it, just because it takes your brain that long to process it and improve on it if you're doing this kind of method. Instead, what you should do is when you get these questions wrong, you want to make sure that you are almost not at all going to get these questions wrong ever again. And the way you can do that is by first just thinking to yourself, why did I get the question wrong? Like, really make it clear in your mind which step of the process did you fail to do, which thing did you mess up while you did it, whatever it was that caused you to get the problem wrong. Second thing is you want to get what kind of information you need to avoid making the same mistake again. So this could be watching like a YouTube video. Like maybe there's a YouTube video explaining a certain thing in Desmos that you need to watch. Or maybe there's a certain strategy you're trying to learn, so you can just reference one of these videos up here and just make sure you're really good on the strategy again. So whatever you need to do, just like to make sure that you understand the concept behind this, because it's not enough just to know that, you know, the answer to question 1 was supposed to be A. You actually need to know why it was A. Like, why was this answer correct? Because otherwise you're just going to maybe know a bunch of random rules, but you won't know why the rules work. And then the third thing you want to do is actually improve on it. A lot of students, when they make mistakes, they just say, okay, in a few days, I'm going to go ahead and revise all these mistakes, redo all these problems, and then I'll be perfect on them. But the issue is I talk to students, and a lot of students, when they think this, they just end up forgetting to redo them. They never come back to them, or if they do come back to them, they've forgotten everything by that point. So instead, what you can do is when you get a problem wrong, you can just immediately go ahead and do another problem or redo the problem in a way that will fix whatever caused you to get it wrong in the first place. Now, I'm going to show an example of this in a second, so you won't have to worry, but this is the process. And if you can do these 3 steps, sure, it will take time, it'll be more energy consuming for your brain, but if you can actually do them, your score will for sure go up. And I've literally shown this method to students, and they've just done this alone, maybe not even anything else I've shown in this video, and their score has gone up like so many points. I couldn't even believe that it actually went up that much. I thought they were joking at first when they showed me their score report, because it's honestly crazy how fast you can improve when you're using this method. This is from my grammar video, so you can watch a full overview of how this problem works in that video, but the answer to this one was B. But let's say I chose A for this problem. And so I chose that one, I got it wrong, and now I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, how did I possibly get this one wrong? The first step I want to do is make sure I understand why did I get this wrong? Well, clearly I didn't understand the rule behind this problem. I didn't understand when you use the semicolon in this specific example, because I just wasn't familiar with it. So that's the reason why I got it wrong. I wasn't familiar with the rule. Now I need to make sure that I do get familiar with the rule. So for this problem specifically, I can maybe watch that YouTube video again, the grammar video up here, and I could just get myself super familiarized with how I was supposed to approach that problem and just fully internalize the rule. The rule for this one, if you're wondering, is that you must use a choice like B when the first two elements are conflicting with each other. It would only be A if the second two elements are conflicting with each other. But since it's the first two, you have to choose B for the answer. So that's essentially the rule behind this problem. And so now I know that. And then the third thing I can do is actually improve on this. So what I can do is I can try to find a problem similar to this one. This might be a little bit hard because this problem is kind of unique, but you can find a ton of practice problems like it on YouTube. You could even just ask AI to generate your problem similar to this so you just have experience with it. Whatever you want to do, just get another problem just so you can really internalize this process, because it doesn't help you just to learn a bunch of rules. You have to actually practice using them. Because you could also have a problem where maybe you remember the wrong way of doing the problem. Maybe you get this problem wrong, then you think, okay, I guess the answer must be A every single time. And then you start getting it wrong every single time. You got to make sure to stop that at the source. And that's how you can do it, by following this kind of strategy. Now for these areas, you should essentially follow through with the strategy until you're getting at least 9 out of 10 problems right most times when you do a practice problem set. Now, I know that's like crazy high, and you may be thinking, how could I possibly get 9 out of 10 problems? But if you're using this strategy, it's actually much, much easier than you may think. Like, you can get perfect on a problem type in the span of just a couple of days if you really are going on this hard and trying to prove as fast as you possibly can. And if you're getting like 9 out of 10 problems right in both of these bottom areas, like, you're probably actually going to get a pretty good score on the SAT, just because like these are a lot of problems on the SAT, and if you can get all of them right, or at least most of them right, your score is going to be pretty high, I'm just going to say. Now, there are two other things that I just want to really touch on, because these things can kind of hurt your SAT score and hurt your performance in the long term. The first thing is time. So I talk to a lot of students who are struggling with SAT. I ask them like, what's your biggest problem in like the reading section, for example? And they tell me it's time. They keep running out of time in module 2, and then they like have to skip over like 5 different questions, and just like, it's terrible. But the thing I really want to ingrain in you is that, especially if you only have 2 weeks before the SAT, it's hard to really perfectly master time. It's a lot more important to just make sure that you're getting all the questions right that you do. Because think of it this way, there's 27 questions on each reading module. If you had to skip 5 of those questions, but the other 22 questions you got perfectly accurate, like all 22 of those were correct, you would actually still get a pretty good score for the reading section. I think that'd probably be maybe around like, at least above 600, and maybe even closer to like 650 if you got everything right in module 1. But the timing is not the thing that would have messed you up there. It was the accuracy in the other problems, because in actuality, probably what's going to happen is like maybe you only answered 22 questions, but you only got like maybe 15 out of those 22 correct. And so it's like you got 7 more questions wrong in addition to the ones you skipped. And so the thing with timing is like, it's hard to really get good at timing on the SAT, especially in only 2 weeks. But you can get really good at accuracy. You can make sure you're really, really accurate with these problems. And typically that's going to be your problem before timing is even really a thing. Like, if you're worrying about timing, but you're not getting all the questions right that you are attempting, it's like you're putting the cart before the horse. You're focusing on the wrong thing, because timing, like, it doesn't matter if you answer all 27 questions if you like had terrible accuracy and like missed 10 of them. Like, you're gonna get an even worse score than if you just skipped 5 but got all of them right. So I would just say, like, if you only have 2 weeks to study for the SAT, don't even really worry about timing. Worry more about accuracy and just like leave that for the end. If you really want to make sure that you're using the best out of the time you do have, though, put all the hardest and longest questions at the end of the test. So when you're going through a module, just skip over the ones that are especially long and especially hard, and just do them at the end. So if you do end up skipping any questions, it's the ones that you had the least likelihood of getting right anyways. Second thing is careless mistakes. This is more common on the math section than the reading section, but it can definitely hurt you regardless of the section. Rather than checking all your answers at the end of the test, just check your answers as you go. Whenever you select an answer for a problem, briefly just go through it and make sure that you did all the steps correctly. Even if this takes a couple extra seconds, it really will help you in the long run by allowing you to not have to check them all at the end of the test. Because again, that goes back to the timing thing. If you're getting like 10 questions wrong just because of careless mistakes, that's like a pretty big deal, and you could be getting a much better score if that wasn't a struggle for you. Now, if you do want to plan with more structure, more organization, and really everything you need to score well in the SAT in only 14 days, I have the 14-day SAT rescue plan. This plan has 14 different videos showcasing basically everything you need to know if you want to score well in the SAT. This is kind of what I was alluding to before when I said there is a way that you can have that kind of structure necessary to do well in all the different areas of the test. In this, I've laid out everything you need to know if you only have 14 days for the SAT, and you need to really master as much as you possibly can. Plus, if you get it before the December SAT, I'm currently throwing in the reading and writing playbook. This has a super in-depth description of every single reading and writing question on the SAT, plus how to approach timing in the modules, how to avoid mistakes, and just how to improve if you're plateauing at a certain question type. This is honestly super helpful, and it's maybe one of the best things I've created so far for the channel. If you're super serious about boosting your score before the next SAT, consider checking this out with the link below. Let's dominate this next SAT.